Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday to everybody. We've made it through the end of perhaps a very challenging week. And I, for one, cannot believe it's already been a week since all that devastating flooding took place in Central Texas. Like around this time a week ago, we were talking about a flash flood emergency for portions of Burnett, Western Williamson, and northwestern Travis counties because we were really worried about Kyle Creek. And we saw all the devastation in those areas as a result of all that heavy rain and flash flooding. So with that in mind and that well in the rearview mirror, let's talk about the here and now and on into this afternoon and evening, because there is, dare I say, another flood threat for this weekend. So let's go ahead and let's break it all down for you as we take a live look at our Kalahari Resort to Conventions weather camera overlooking the Dell Diamond. And there you see Old Glory and the Lone Star State flag flying at half staff, of course, to honor those flood victims. And of course, we're thinking about you, especially if you're dealing with the aftermath of everything. But as we take a look at the Dell Diamond over there in the background, the storms, they're going to be returning this weekend. It's mostly going to be afternoon and evening for today. And some of that could involve some heavy rain, and that results in a minor flood risk for some, especially out in the hill country where the ground is completely saturated. And oh, by the way, thank God, drier and hotter conditions for next week. I mean, we've been wanting a prolonged dry stretch for some time, and I know that's weird for us Texans to say that, but that's exactly what we've got going on. Got a little bit of radiational fog at places like LaGrange, maybe even a bit of drizzle here in town. Looking at temperatures mostly in those mid to upper 70s area wide. And there was that area of drizzle that did pop up over a few minutes ago, and that has now dissipated. And now we're looking at mostly dry conditions to start your day. Your allergy count, weeds, hickory, and mold were all medium. Pine still ridiculously low. Not necessarily none, but some pine did show up. No grass showed up on our sensor today. And you can find this allergy count each and every day on KVUE.com and the KVUE app. Now let's go hour by hour. And this is going to be the important tidbit here. As we go throughout the course of the day, this model is showing a lot of the heaviest rain, mostly east of I-35 for your Saturday afternoon. Now the thing about it is this. Anyone in Central Texas is fair game for a few of those showers and storms, some of which could have heavier downpours associated with them. We do have a weak low that has moved its way through, and it's tapped into some of that Gulf moisture. And that Gulf moisture can really crank up some heavier rainfall totals, especially if that low is slow moving. Now, as we go through your Sunday morning, the model's not really showing much to start your Sunday, folks. But it's Sunday afternoon. There is a potential of maybe a few of those isolated to widely scattered showers right there as you see it by the time we get to around 7 o'clock. A lot of the heaviest rain over sections of the hill country. Now here's your short range model comparison, and there's a lot of conflicting data here, and so that's what makes it tricky for us meteorologists. But the main tidbit I want y'all to take away from is that anyone who is under a downpour could have a chance for a quick 1 to 3 inches. However, the HRRR model doesn't really show as much as our in-house graph model does. So in-house graph model does have a lot of the heaviest rain over a 48-hour period over sections of the hill country. Again, that's where the ground is completely saturated, especially after all that heavy rain and all of that flooding that they saw last weekend. And that's why the Weather Prediction Center issued a 2 out of 4 slight risk for excessive rainfall for the Austin Metro and points west for today. And there's even a section of Mason County for Sunday that is under that same 2 out of 4 outlook, but it's mostly going to be marginal for Sunday. So the heaviest rain, if it does fall, would fall today. I do have a lesser storm chance today than what I do tomorrow, but still it is a chance nonetheless. Now here's another interesting tidbit for you. It's now been 59 days since the last triple-digit day at Camp Mabry. That was all the way back on May 14th. So that was forever ago. But as we take a look at next week's high, look at Thursday's high. I have 100 in the forecast, so it is possible that the streak could extend maybe a couple more days. But then there are real chances starting on Tuesday for that streak to come to an end. That's because high pressure moves in and brings in that drier and hotter air, and drier air does tend to heat up faster. I do have a 30% storm chance for your Monday. However, at the same time, that's the last real storm chance of the next 7 days. So we just got to go through this weekend and early next week. And again, Saturday, I have a 30% chance. Sunday, I have a 40% chance. Monday, I have a 30% chance as well. Does not look like we have any questions right now. I know there's 29 of y'all joining in. Now, some people have dropped a little bit because, I don't know. Anyways, yeah, your best storm chances are going to be Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And you're going to be asking what time it's going to hit so-and-so. I'm here to tell you that it's going to be mostly late afternoon and evening. This is totally inexact. Just because the models may show that some areas may get exactly so-and-so rain doesn't mean that that area will get it. It could be occasions where like the hill country is forecast to get a whole bunch of rain, but it end up being the coastal plains and vice versa. So those are a few of those tidbits that I think I want to bring to your attention. All right, so let me go through the timing again of everything, and I'm going to put the boxes up here to kind of show y'all exactly what we're doing. So this is Saturday at 7:30 in the morning. Maybe just a few light showers hanging around. By the time we get to around 2:30, 3 o'clock, that's when, you know, we start to see the potential for maybe a few of those scattered showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder as well. Then by the time we get to 6, this model shows a little bit of a calming trend here, but then looking at way up at the top of the screen, you're looking at some heavy rainfall in areas north of us, like near Waco, Gatesville, if you're familiar with those areas, Copperas Cove, maybe Killeen, Temple. Well, not really Temple, but that model's showing places off to the north like Goldthwaite, Lomita, up toward Hamilton, and then, of course, Gatesville, Waco. Probably going to be seeing some heavier rainfall as well. If you're familiar with those areas, I know there are a lot of Baylor Bears that live in this area, so y'all are, of course, familiar with Waco and those surrounding areas. By the time we get to around 5 in the morning, we do have a few of those isolated widely scattered showers, maybe even a few rumbles of thunder that could start your Sunday morning. Then by 7 a.m., things do tend to be simmered down a little bit, but then watch as we go through Sunday. This is at around noon, and it does have a bit of a dry low. But then watch this as we head through around 2:33, 3:30, 4 o'clock. Now, this is why I have the better rain chances tomorrow as opposed to today, is because this model is showing a little more widespread thunderstorm activity than today. Quick note is that while this does show more widespread activity, I think the heavier rainfall will be today if it does fall in your particular area. We could have a quick 1 to 3 inches, which could cause some minor flash flooding issues. And another important note, it is nothing like what happened last week. We're not going to have that, okay? So don't be freaking out. Don't be crying. Don't be like, don't do that. Nah, it's just going to be a minor flood risk. We're not here to scare y'all, but we want y'all to be prepared. I know a lot of people have a little anxiety from last weekend, but please, 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 this is not something to be afraid of, okay? Trey McElwain is asking, what's up with the allergies? Well, the mold was in the high count, and we have had, okay, let me pull up this allergy count, because Trey McElwain's asking about it. Let's pull that up. Today's allergens have weeds and hickory in the medium, and mold is in the medium as well. Previously, mold has been in the high count, and we've had elevated levels of alternaria. But weeds and hickory are starting to trend down from previous days. So if you're sneezing like that, Trey, that's probably going to be what your answer is. It's probably going to be weeds or hickory or something of that sort. We don't have any grass pollens that have shown up on our sensor. So by and large, we're really looking at a weed and hickory issue, and maybe even mold as well. Now, when we dry up, that mold is going to increase just a little bit. So we're going to really watch that very, very closely. So hopefully that answered your question, Trey. But let's get back to where we were. Okay, the heavy rain. This is on Sunday. This is, again, starting overnight tonight, looking mostly north of the KV viewing area, so places like Goldthwaite, toward Lomita, Evant. There is north of the KVU area. Those areas seeing some good heavy rain. We also got Gatesville involved as well. But then as you head through 7 a.m., things do start to dry out a little bit. And we get a bit of a dry lull all the way through around noon, maybe the early afternoon as well. But we're looking at more widespread activity as we head through around 5, 6 o'clock on your Sunday evening as you're getting ready for that Love Island finale. This is at around 7:30, and then around 8, things do start to simmer down. So should be good for the outdoor watch parties for the Love Island finale if you're planning on doing that. But looking at 6:30, 7 o'clock, so my timeline Sunday is mostly going to be between 2 and 6:30 or 7 for most of the KVU area to get possibly some of the heaviest rainfall. And looking at these model comparisons, we are looking mostly at the graph showing some of the heaviest rainfall totals, but I think the heavier rain will fall today as opposed to tomorrow, although I have a lesser chance of rain today than I do tomorrow. Tomorrow's storms will be a little on the lighter side, and I do have a slight chance of a shower or storm on Monday as well. And quick little tidbit, 59 days since we've had triple-digit heat. So, Trey, if you're looking for silver linings to the fact that we've had too much rain, because I know you also talked about haven't we had enough for now at least in terms of rain, silver linings are that we haven't had a triple-digit day in 59 days, and the lakes are at much higher levels than what they previously were a week ago before all the flooding started. So, really and truly, I mean, of course, the most important cons to all of this, really, the heaviest rain has its pros and cons, but the biggest cons to all of this are, of course, the property damage, the devastation, especially out in Kerrville, as well as within our viewing area, bridges being washed out, and most importantly of all, people have unfortunately lost their lives or are still missing to this day as of the last check. But there are some pros to that as well, and that's the elevated lake levels. That should be really good news for the water supply here in the Austin metro area. It almost eradicated the drought in a lot of places, even in the Southern Hill Country, even in Gillespie County, because remember, we had 2 whole stages of drought dropped in a lot of places in the Hill Country because of this. So, good news there. And then also, we hadn't had triple digits in 59 days. So May 14th was the last one, and that's good news. Kenda Becker, I know you're talking about no signal. I'm sorry about that. But what you guys could also do is and I want to remind y'all about the signal or the OTA signal and that kind of thing. If y'all are having issues, then you may want to either adjust your antenna, because we recently did some work on our transmitter to kind of help with that issue, because I know a lot of y'all did have that problem. But also, you could follow us on kview.com. We show our shows live on kview.com and also the KView app as well. And if you have Fire Stick, Apple TV, or Roku, you could download the KView Plus app. And I'm on KView Plus right now as well. So if you're watching us on KView Plus, thank you very much. And all of our newscasts and other content will be on there as well. So you want to make sure that you have multiple ways to get us, whether it be through kview.com, the KView app, KView Plus, what have you. So that'll answer your thing. Trey, my pleasure. Yeah, I get where you're complaining, though. Sitting here complaining because you can't throw the ball with my dogs, and people had it so much worse. Yep, I agree. It looks like I don't think there are any more questions. We have a show coming up at 8 a.m. on KVU or KVU.com or KVU Plus or the KVU app. Wherever you watch us, be sure to watch us there, especially if you're having an OTA signal issue. Then you want to make sure that you get your news headlines from the best weather team in the city straight up. So you want to make sure that you have all of the latest information, especially when it comes to the heavy rain that could lead to flash flooding. We'll have more details on that, as well as your news headlines coming up at 8 a.m. on KVU or KVU Plus or KVU.com or the KVU app. But for now, I'm meteorologist Jordan Derensberg. But hold on. Ooh, okay. So we got some late bloomers coming in. Betty Jo Matthews. I do want to break it down real quickly here, and I'm going to put the boxes up one more time to kind of break it down for y'all, for those who missed out. So we're going to start at around noon, and we could have a few scattered storms by the time we get to around 3 o'clock. Highs get to the mid-90s then. But then as we head through Saturday evening, things should start to dissipate because a lot of the energy in the atmosphere will be lost. And a lot of the heaviest rain overnight does look to be north of the KVU viewing area, places like Goldthwaite, places like Lomita, Hamilton, out toward Gatesville could see some heavy rain as well overnight. That's what this model is saying. But by the time we get to 5 a.m., could start off with a few light showers, maybe even a downpour in the hill country. This model is showing it over Mason County, but really anywhere is fair game for that. But then watch this as we head through Sunday, and we stay dry for most of the day, but then this is why I have better storm chances for Sunday afternoon as opposed to this afternoon, and that is because of the coverage. According to this particular model, there's going to be a little more coverage tomorrow than what will be today. But those that do see the rain today will see heavier amounts of rain. But this particular model, these two model runs, have been conflicting each other, and this is what makes it hard on us meteorologists, is that when these models can't seem to get along, it makes it harder for us because we have to try and concretely determine how much rain some people might get. But it's hard to do that when you have models that are not necessarily in agreement. Now for this, a lot of the heaviest rain could contain 1 to 3 inches of rain under any thunderstorm that does pop up, and that's where the minor flood risk would be. But as we look at today's flood threat, the Weather Prediction Center has a better flood threat today than tomorrow, and that's because some of that rain could be heavier at times on Saturday, especially in the hill country where they have that ground completely saturated, and that's why they have that 2 out of 4 slight risk for excessive rainfall for Saturday as opposed to Sunday. Of course, it's been 59 days now without triple digits at Camp Mabry. The last such day was May 14th. Next week's highs getting to the upper 90s, near the triple digits at some points, especially starting on Tuesday and then on through Thursday. So I do foresee that streak extending a couple of more days at least up until we see that heat and dry pattern finally return. And there it is. We do have a scattered storm chance on Monday as well. We don't have a flood threat then, but we're really going to be heating up between Tuesday through Friday with highs getting close to those triple digits. So that's pretty much all we've got for right now for those who missed it. I will be seeing you guys within the next 15 minutes for your latest news and weather headlines. Malia Mazumoto, she will be anchoring this morning. Hopefully y'all can join us on KVU.com, the KVU app, on air on KVU if you're able to, or KVU Plus. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see y'all within the